The trial of the mastermind of the USS Cole bombings resumes this month at Guantanamo Bay. It's being watched for what it could reveal about CIA black sites and interrogations. Al-Qaeda bombed the USS Cole while the ship was refueling in Yemen. 17 American sailors were killed, nearly 40 wounded. That attack coming 11 months before the September 11th attacks. And now, for the first time, the man in charge of the ship that day describes that harrowing ordeal. Joining our panel is the author of Front Burner, retired Navy Commander Kirk Lippold. It's so nice to see you this morning, and the book is really, really well done. And it reminds me of, when that happened, it was a different America. It really was. We hadn't had September 11th. We'd seen these escalating sort of bombings of U.S. interests around the world, but then the Cole really struck at the heart of this country.
It did. I think we had a pre-9/11 mindset. People were of the opinion that so long as terrorist attacks occurred overseas, if Americans died, that was somewhat the price we paid for being on the international stage.
We know now it was such a foreshadowing, a real foreshadowing of what Al-Qaeda wanted to do and what the message it wanted to send to us and how it wanted to kill American civilians.
Absolutely. When you look at it, they had attacked buildings and embassies, Khobar Towers, you had the embassies in Dar es Salaam and Nairobi. Those are things that represent or house U.S. interests. When you attack a warship, that's something that defends U.S. interests around the globe. And when you try to reduce a nation's ability to protect its citizens around the world, it's an act of war. And it was missed by two administrations.
October 12, 2000, you said it felt like we had just been speared like a giant fish. You said this ship rose up and flexed back and forth. It destroyed the public address system. It destroyed the alarms. The ship didn't go down, though. How did you save the ship without being able to communicate with your crew? Everyone had to go back on instincts and training, I guess.
It was absolutely training. The crew immediately fell back on what they had been trained to do. They formed small teams. They went out. They investigated the damage around the ship, determined what they needed to do to stop the flooding, to isolate various areas of the ship to prevent it from sinking, and immediately set about doing that. Those that were not involved in the damage control effort then began to work on the on saving the crew members, and in 33, that day we evacuated 33 wounded off the ship in 99 minutes, and 32 would survive. And
you're limping back to port, right? You have 2 weeks. You made a report for 2 weeks after the attack. You were telling all of us in the break about you played the Star Spangled Banner. Tell me a little bit about trying to keep everyone together and keep morale up after this horrible event.
Well, I wanted to send a signal. When the ship got underway and was going to be towed out of Aden, Yemen, as we were pulling away from the pier, I told the executive officer, my #2 in command, play the Star Spangled Banner. And he did exactly that, and it sent the signal that despite what had happened to us, we were living with our head held high. Then we made a determination, play the second song, XO. What do we play? Star Spangled Banner again, second time though, Jimi Hendrix version. And then I said, the crew's earned it, let them play what they want. And they played a very memorable song. I thought I was going to get good, solid American rock. The crew had a different idea of what rock meant, and the next thing you know, you hear this noise coming on the speakers from Kid Rock, American Badass, sending the signal, up yours, Yemen. And that was really, you can't ask for any better than that. And Kid Rock, great American. He would come several months later and do a benefit concert for the crew and families in Norfolk.
Now, somebody played Public Enemy. We know what it just would have been just over right there.
You said you were disappointed by both the Clinton and Bush administration responses to this attack. What would you have considered a more appropriate response?
I think we should have been much more forthright in going after Al-Qaeda and doing what was necessary. Putting a bunch of missiles into Afghanistan following the embassy bombings clearly had no effect. They had abandoned Tarnak farms and other areas where the missiles hit, and it had little effect. So we learned our lesson right there, that there was either a compromise or something that went on, and I think we should have taken a look. We'd had 2 years to react to it and essentially did nothing.
I want to, early in the morning of September 11th, 2001, so this 11 months after the attack on the USS Cole that you write about, you attended a briefing at CIA headquarters on how Al-Qaeda had planned and executed this attack on your ship. And I want to read what you told CIA officials at the end of that meeting. You said, "I don't think America understands. I believe it's going to take a seminal event, probably in this country, where hundreds, if not thousands, are going to have to die before Americans realize we're at war with this guy." Moments later, the North Tower of the World Trade Center was hit. Describe your feelings, and do you think that they heeded you? They knew how serious this was?
It was the most horrible pit in my stomach that you could imagine, because that first one, you're kind of wondering what went on, but as I'm standing outside the counterterrorism center and watching the second plane bank at 30 degrees and slam into the South Tower, you knew the nation was at war in that instant. and you also knew who it probably was. And I just looked at it and said, I cannot believe this is happening to my nation. We've had 11 months to react to it, and we did nothing.
I just think, unfortunately, in this country, whether it was this issue and others, we are reactionary. We wait for things to reach critical mass, and then we say, okay, I guess we might want to do something about it. And whether it was a space shuttle, whether it was dealing with the O-rings, whether dealing with his phone coming off, you name it, we're always waiting for the...
A British historian told me that Americans are optimists, unlike a lot of other countries, and so in a way, that's why we're reactionary.
Or we kick the can down the road and say, we'll deal with it later.
It is worth pointing out that after the original embassy bombings, the Clinton administration did send missile strikes. But I think what we learned what we did learn from the hideous Cole attack was that this was a foe that was a consortium of international criminals who never do the same approach twice.
Right.
Embassies this time, a Navy ship this time, hijacking planes, European train station the next time. It really seems in retrospect that the Cole was when we first realized that this was going to be one of the most unpredictable enemies the U.S. had ever faced.
Absolutely. I mean, the attack on Cole truly was an act of war. We didn't react to it. We had seen where they'll revisit targets. That's what worries me. We're getting to be, 11 years, 10 years plus with 9/11 on here.
Right.
People are getting comfortable. Terrorism isn't at the forefront of everyone as they're thinking and going into the elections this fall. And I can tell you right now, if you think for 1 minute that Iran is not planning and has the operational aspects going on in this country today, should we choose to do anything against them with respect to their nuclear program, they're wrong. And that's what worries me more than anything else.
Another issue, but we'll have to leave it there. Kirk Lippold, very nice to see you, the author of the book called Front Burner, former commanding officer of the USS Cole. Thanks for joining us.